You know, on computer channels like ours, we spend an awful lot of time talking about computers. But we should probably spend more time talking about the thing you actually look at, your panel. This is an XG series monitor from Viewsonic. It's a 1080p 144 hertz panel. It was kind of a no frills panel. It's like, it gave us the features we needed at a price that was really affordable. But with 1440p starting to become the more, I don't want to say prevalent, it's definitely not prevalent. More than 70% of panels on the Steam survey are 1080p panels. But 1440p is definitely making a stride in kind of gaining some ground there. And because we're gonna be testing a lot of graphics cards coming up that are really 1440p targeted cards, this 1080p panel has to go. So that's why we're gonna be taking a look at a new XG panel from Viewsonic, the XG270QG. And my hand is actually stuck in here. Ugh. So Phil just pointed out it's not GQ, it's QG. And I knew that, but for obvious reasons, GQ is just always on my mind. This doesn't just happen, guys. Anyway, this is a 27-inch panel, which is kind of nice. But what's nice about this is the panel technology has changed an awful lot over the last 5 years. I mean, TN panel was what you got. Dang, there's so much tape on this. If you wanted a gaming panel, you got TN, because that was the only way they could get the refresh rate and the response time to be what it needed to be to have the nice, smooth frame rates. But that's all changed because what you're looking at here from Viewsonic is part of their Elite series. This is a 144 hertz, overclockable to 165 hertz IPS nano display. Well, Jay, what the heck is nano? Well, without going into too much depth, nano is basically another layer that's between the actual light source and the actual display and the pixels themselves. It has to do with getting you deeper blacks and more vivid colors, as well as maintaining the response times and the refresh rates that gamers want. So it's kind of like a single panel that can allow you to do your productivity stuff like that requires color accuracy, whether you be a video editor or photographer, and you don't want the stupid color shift that comes along with TN. What it gets you is very close to the super ultra deep blacks of something like an OLED or even like a QLED, but without that cost that comes along with it. OLEDs have not gotten fast enough yet over the years to really become gaming monitors, nor are they nearly affordable enough, I guess you should say. Now this panel also is not an entry-level panel. It's an Elite Series panel. It's got a price tag that I think, based on, we'll take a look at how this kind of matches up right here, but it's $599. Not cheap, but not nearly as expensive as it could be because, for example, when the Asus Swift came out, it was a $1,000 panel. Actually, I think it might have been 1,200 bucks when it first came out. And this, if you compared to the Swift panel back from 2014, would decimate it in terms of color accuracy, speed, response time, and just feature set. So anyway, let's get it out of the box. Get out without breaking the foam. There's the part we care about the most. Let me get this all set up and then we'll be back. I'll save you guys the embarrassment of watching me trying to, oh, it has cable management built in? So this thing is robust, holy cow. That's how much it will not slide on the table. I mean, it's not light, but it's not heavy. It's just, look at all the rubber. Whoa. Spring loaded, obviously. So you've got up and down, you've got tilt. So it tilts to basically, looks like you only get maybe 1 degree down. You obviously get some up, and then you do have portrait, horizontal, or landscape. On the back here too, it does also have a QR code that you can link or use your camera phone to open up a website that will explain what the Elite Gaming RGB app does. It's got a little flip out hanger here for your headset, which is pretty cool. So let's say you were using this really stupid Sennheiser one, you'd be like, now if we take a look at the back, you can see it does have speakers built in. They're rear fire. There's some right here and some right here. I don't believe there's any down fire, but we will fire it up, pun intended. But all of your cables go underneath this cover. If we look at connectivity, we've got 3 USB 3.0. We also have a DisplayPort and an HDMI, as well as a 3.5mm, and then we've also got our power plug. 2 things we want to point out actually before we fire it up. One, it's got this really nice grabby handle. So did the other XG, but this is more of just a square port that you can kind of grab it by a little bit. The other one has got a ridge there that gives you a nice firm place to hold it by. And then I wanted to show you actually how it works here regarding the mount if you want to switch to a VESA. If you put this on and later you want to use a monitor arm, click that little button up, tilt it forward, and then it comes off like that. And then you can see that the VESA screws, it's a 100 by 100 VESA. Screws are already in there. So you take those screws out and use them. And you want to use the screws that are included with your panel, because if you just grab whatever thread pitch that matches, and it might be too long, and then it punctures something in there, like your PCB or something, you're gonna be very upset that you just killed your Viewsonic Elite monitor. So now we can fire it up. Comes with DisplayPort and the USB cable here. This is also what allows you to have your hub working on there, like I said. So you can keep your cables all nice and tidy. You can have your keyboard and mouse kind of running through here. And actually it's got these little hangers. And these are specifically for your keyboard and mouse. Because one of the things that suck most about when you're gaming is when the cord gets all like stuck behind the table or whatever, you're like, ah, and you're trying to pull out the slack. Your mouse cable is free. So you're not having to like worry about it getting stuck or tugged on the back. So in terms of the spec, like I said, it's 144 Hertz IPS nano display, overclockable to 165. I think our previous video though that we did about frames per second and refresh rate, I probably just leave it at the 144. I personally won't overclock it to the 165. I love the minimalistic look of this. The bezel is so thin. We'll see once we turn it on how far the display actually goes. The nice brushed metal feet, that is metal by the way, or I should say stand, it's not even feet. It's just all black, no gaudiness, but look at how much actual height adjustment you get out of this. So that's where Phil would look at it, and that's where I would look at it. That is a massive amount of adjustability. All right, Jay, enough already. Let's go ahead and fire it up and get a picture. Look at this though, like this keyboard even matches it perfectly because it's the same brushed look to it, although it's really dirty. Don't show it, it's dirty, don't show it. Okay, so both Phil and I, when this turned on, we were like, whoa, because the color has punch, but it's not oversaturated. The vibrance on it is not super unrealistic. It's got good contrast ratio. In fact, if we look at the specs, the color depth is 10-bit, 8-bit plus FRC. The brightness is only 350 nits though, because it's not an HDR panel. And that's one of the things that's keeping the cost down on it, is the fact that it's not HDR. But I'll be honest, HDR is really cool for like movies and stuff, but for games, I tend to not really use it. The blacks are really deep, but you still have detail in the darks, even though it's not an HDR panel and it's only 350 nits. So this website's pretty awesome when you do a display check or a display test, because you can really tune your overdrive settings. A lot of monitors have overdrive now. I'm not gonna get into what overdrive does, just know that it's a setting that helps with response time by kind of manipulating the light. I don't know if that's even the right way to explain it, but that's besides the point. Use the site to tune your overdrive, because as you go through the different settings, you can kind of see what happens with the display. And as you overdrive and push the panel even farther, and some panels will allow you to push it way too far in my opinion based on the capabilities, well, you'll get a reverse halo where instead of a trail behind it, you'll get a trail forming in front of it. So there's kind of a blur in front of the object, which is even worse than dealing with a slow response time in my opinion. This panel obviously is handling it extremely well. These photos right here, like of my car, these were done by professional HRE's professional photo team, because these wheels were a part of a HRE launch campaign. So these are professionally edited, they're extremely high resolution, and they are, the color on them is done perfectly. Compared to the other panel, which was TN, and this being IPS, it looks so washed out before, whereas on an IPS panel, you get all the fast response time we just talked about, the refresh rates, as well as the color to go along with it. What I'm gonna test right now though, in terms of the speakers, I'm gonna bring up like one of like the YouTube chill hop sites. It's not really handling it's not reproducing any of the bass. That's what I wanted to check here, was what happens if you throw more bass at it than it can handle. It's not rattling, it doesn't sound great, but it's not rattling. To me, it sounds like a laptop. I don't even want to admit this. I'm one of those people that used monitor speakers as my speaker source here at the studio for like, what, a year? No, 6 months at least, as long as we've been here. But the thing is, I feel like I could use these. And once I put that box there so the sound can reflect, then it got a little louder, obviously, because it's not bouncing off the wall way out there. It definitely has like a surround simulate kind of a feel to it. It almost feels too like wide of a sound stage. But again, they're not speakers that are for you to write home about. They are something to give you sound if you need it. So this is the Viewsonic Elite RGB Alliance software page. So there's two ways you can do this. You can install the Elite software or the Elite RGB controller and control it yourself, Or if you're already using like Razer Chroma, Master Plus from Cooler Master, Thermaltake RGB Plus, you can actually take control over this using the same software that you may already have on your system. So rather than doing the stupid compounding of all the dumb RGB softwares, Viewsonic actually did it the way everyone should be doing it. Let it talk to other programs and be controlled that way. It's addressable, why the heck not? So we obviously are using the controller because we don't have any of that software installed right now. So you can control the RGB here, and you can see right now, it's got downfire LEDs that are gonna illuminate your desk. But on the back side, it also has that ring that we had already showed you, where that also is gonna sort of tie into whatever theme that you pick. So just a bunch of different lighting effects as you might expect. Now this might be the part where people go, oh, and now it just lost the Elite moniker because it's got RGB. You know what the cool part is? You don't want RGB control? It's off. What's so hard about that? It takes less energy to turn it off than to complain about it. This is gonna be now our test rig monitor that we use, obviously for up to 1440p. I'll tell you right now, if they had an ultra-wide version of this, like a 34-inch ultra-wide, or even, let's say bigger, like a 40-inch ultra-wide, with these specs and this cleanliness, that would definitely become my new daily driver at home. So Viewsonic is definitely putting the Elite into the Elite monitor space. I'm gonna turn on my lights here so you guys can see me. I need to replace these batteries. So if you guys want to learn more about this monitor, you can click the link down in the description below. A huge thank you to Viewsonic for sponsoring today's video and sending this to us. I've got to say, in a world where monitors are ugly and have colored trim that you don't want, the Elite series gives you just brushed black anodized metal. It's not completely edge to edge. This is, it's definitely not distracting, but it's got decent sound. It's got 3 USB ports, a hub built in. You've got your display port as well as your HDMI, and all of this adjustability in terms of height, swivel, tilt, and then going either portrait or landscape. It gives you a lot of features that just a few years back would have easily cost you double this. So like I said, if you guys want to learn more about this panel, check it out in the description below. I'll put a link down there, and you're going to see this in pretty much every video card / gaming review you see us do in the future, up to 1440p, because this one's not 4K. So if we do 4K testing, we have to switch the panel out. But I am highly impressed with the features that you get with this panel. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one.